My mother-in-law pretended to love me, but behind my back said I was lower class because I'm the daughter of a mechanic and a seamstress. I pretended not to know. I planned in silence, and when she found out, it was too late. I never thought I'd be writing here, but I need to vent. I need someone to tell me if I acted correctly. The pain of betrayal, not from my husband, but from someone who should have treated me like family, destroyed me, and rebuilt me in ways I never imagined possible. I met Jack 5 years ago at a networking event for the company where we worked. He was a project manager in the IT department, and I had just started as a financial analyst. Our eyes met while I was explaining to a group how to identify high-risk investments, and he interrupted me to ask intelligent questions. It was love at first sight, at least for me. We got married after 2 years of dating, a simple ceremony in the garden of his parents' house. Mrs. Thompson, my mother-in-law, seemed delighted with me that day. "Finally, a woman worthy of my son," she said, holding my hands between hers. I believed her. How naive I was. Jack is an only child. His father passed away when he was 19, and since then, he and his mother developed a symbiotic relationship that I thought was just intense maternal love. Mrs. Thompson still lived in the house where Jack grew up, a spacious house in a traditional neighborhood, inherited from her late husband. Jack visited her religiously every Sunday. After our marriage, these visits continued, and I started accompanying him. At first, everything seemed perfect. Mrs. Thompson welcomed me with smiles, called me daughter, and even gave me gifts on special dates. We cooked together, exchanged recipes. She showed me old photos of Jack, told stories from his childhood that made me laugh until I cried. I truly believed I had won the complete package. A wonderful husband and a mother-in-law who treated me like the daughter she never had. Then I got pregnant with our first child. That's when the first cracks began to appear. The changes were subtle at first. Seemingly innocent comments about my weight gain during pregnancy, suggestions about how I should eat, how I should behave. In my day, pregnant women didn't work until the last month, she would say, though I knew she had done just that herself. I began to notice disapproving looks when I mentioned I would continue working after the baby was born. "A mother should raise her own children, don't you think?" she would ask, as if suggesting a universal truth. Jack rarely intervened in these conversations, and when he did, it was to say, "Mom, you know how independent Sarah is." Independent, as if it were a flaw. When Michael was born, the situation worsened. Mrs. Thompson would show up at our apartment unannounced, under the pretext of helping the new mom. But her help always came with veiled criticism. "The baby is crying a lot. Have you checked his diaper? That breast milk looks weak." In my day, we drank bean broth to strengthen it. I tried to breathe deeply, remind myself she was just an enthusiastic grandmother. Jack said it was just her way, that I was sensitive due to postpartum hormones. Perhaps it was true. Then gradually, I noticed she was planting seeds of doubt in my marriage. Small comments to Jack. "You look tired, son. Isn't Sarah taking good care of you?" Or, "At your age, your father had already bought our house and a new car." Always comparing, always diminishing our achievements, especially mine. I tried to talk to Jack about this several times. "Honey, your mother seems to have some problem with me," I would say. He always responded the same way. "You're imagining things, Sarah. My mom adores you." Until one day, I stopped insisting. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe it was paranoia. I moved on, focusing on my work, my son, my marriage. I returned to the office when Michael turned 6 months old and even got a promotion. Our financial life was stable. We had started investing in buying our own apartment. Things finally seemed to be adjusting. And then, it happened. It was a Sunday like any other. Lunch at Mrs. Thompson's house. Michael, now 1 year and 2 months old, played on the living room rug while Jack helped his mother wash the dishes in the kitchen. I had excused myself to go to the bathroom upstairs. On my way back, I heard their voices. "Son, you need to start thinking about the future." Mrs. Thompson's voice was low but clear in the silence of the house. "Michael deserves a present mother." "Mom, we've talked about this. Sarah loves her job and she's a great mom. I'm not saying she isn't, but you've seen how she's always on her phone, always talking about those reports. A woman of her level, always involved with numbers, with money. It hardens the heart, Jack." I stopped on the stairs, frozen. My heart beating so hard I was sure they could hear it. "What do you mean by her level?" Jack asked, and I felt a slight relief hearing the irritation in his voice. "Well, son, don't pretend you don't understand. You know exactly what I mean. She's smart. I'll give her that. But she's from a simple family. Her father is a mechanic, her mother a seamstress. She only got where she is through her own merit, of course, but she lacks refinement, lacks tradition. Mom, please don't start this again. You could have married Caroline, Dr. Miller's daughter, or even Mariana, who studied in Europe. Girls from good families who would understand you, who would understand our position. But you chose Sarah, and I respected your choice, son. Only now I'm worried about Michael. He deserves to be raised with the right values." Silence. Torturous silence. I waited for Jack to counter, to defend our family, but what came next almost made me collapse right there. I know you never fully approved of Sarah, Mom, but she's my wife now, and the mother of your grandson. A wife who doesn't know the value of family, who prefers working to caring for her son, who is more concerned with her next promotion than with her husband. Jack, your father must be turning in his grave, a woman like that. She's simply unworthy of you, unworthy of the Thompson name. Unworthy, the word echoed in my ears like a slap. 5 years of fake smiles, empty hugs, calculated gifts. 5 years being judged, being considered inferior. And Jack didn't defend me. Not as he should have. He only tried to appease the situation. Mom, let's change the subject. Sarah could come down any moment. I heard nothing more. Silently, I returned to the bathroom, locked the door, and let the tears fall. I washed my face, took a deep breath, and went down the stairs with the fakest smile I've ever put on my lips. I need to leave early today, I announced, picking up Michael in my arms. I just remembered I have an important presentation tomorrow and forgot some documents at the office. Jack looked confused. Now? Can't we stay a little longer? Unfortunately not. You can stay if you want. I can get an Uber. No, of course not. We'll go together. Mrs. Thompson watched me with those shrewd eyes. Did she notice something in my behavior? Did she know I had heard? I didn't care anymore. The mask had fallen, and I could no longer pretend I didn't know the truth. In the car, Jack tried to make conversation several times, but I responded with monosyllables. When we got home, I put Michael to bed and locked myself in the home office. I needed to think. I needed to plan. I didn't sleep that night. The word unworthy hammered in my head. All the pieces fit now. The forced smiles, the veiled criticisms, the subtle attempts to diminish me in front of Jack. And the worst? His passivity in the face of it all. That's when I made a decision. I wouldn't confront either of them immediately. I wouldn't lose control. I wouldn't give Mrs. Thompson the pleasure of seeing me fall apart, of confirming the image she had of me as an emotional and irrational woman. No, I would be strategic. I would show her, and my husband, exactly who Sarah Wilson Thompson is. The next morning, I acted normally. I prepared breakfast, fed Michael, got ready for work. Jack noticed my silence, but attributed it to the stress I was going through at work. I let him think that. At the office, during my lunch hour, I did something I never thought I would do. I scheduled a consultation with a family lawyer, not to file for divorce. I wasn't ready for that decision yet, but to understand my options, to protect myself and my son. In the following weeks, I began to document everything, every derogatory comment from Mrs. Thompson, every time Jack failed to defend me, every situation where I was treated as less than a family member. I kept a detailed diary with dates, times, and contexts. In parallel, I intensified my work at the company. If I was unworthy for being of humble origins, for having built my career from scratch, then I would show how much this unworthy woman could achieve on her own merit. I got a significant raise 3 months after the fateful conversation. Didn't initially comment anything to Jack, just started directing the extra money to a separate account, not out of dishonesty but as a precaution. Something inside me said I needed to have total financial autonomy, regardless of what happened, to my marriage. I also started investing more time in myself, gym 3 times a week, professional development courses, therapy, to process the pain of betrayal, and to help me make clear decisions without the weight of resentment. I wanted to act with intelligence, not emotional impulse. Jack noticed the changes, of course. "You're different," he commented one night as I read a book on financial management in bed. "More distant." "I'm focused on my career," I simply replied. "I want to ensure a stable future for Michael." It was the first time I saw genuine insecurity in his eyes, as if, for the first time, he was considering the possibility of losing me. Sunday visits to Mrs. Thompson's house continued, but now I had a new posture, polite, but reserved. I no longer offered to help in the kitchen. I no longer shared details of my personal or professional life. When she made comments about my raising of Michael or my dedication to work, I would smile gently and say, "I appreciate your concern, Mrs. Thompson, but I'm confident in my choices." I saw frustration grow in her eyes. She could no longer affect me as before. Her power over me was diminishing, and she knew it. 6 months after hearing that conversation, I received news that would change everything. An offer to take over as financial manager of a company branch in another city, about 200 miles away. The salary was almost double what I was currently earning. The growth opportunity, immeasurable. That night, I placed the offer on the dining room table in front of Jack. "I received this today," I said calmly. "I have 2 weeks to give an answer." Jack, read the document, his face gradually paling. "Moving to another city? Sarah, you can't be seriously considering this. What about Michael? And us? It's an incredible opportunity, Jack. For me, professionally, for us, financially. We could buy a much bigger house there, with my new salary. But my life is Here. My work is here. My mother is here. Ah, of course. His mother. The heart of everything. I understand that. That's why we need to talk seriously. It was the beginning of a long night of conversation. Finally, after months, I let everything out. I told him about the conversation I overheard, about how I felt betrayed not only by his mother, but by him too, for not adequately defending me. Jack tried to deny it at first, saying I had misinterpreted his mother's words. But when I showed him my diary, with all the incidents meticulously documented, he had no way to refute. "Why didn't you tell me before?" he asked, his voice choked. "Because you never really listened when I tried to talk, and because I needed time to decide what I wanted to do about it. And what do you want to do?" "I want to accept this job. I want you to come with me and Michael. I want us to start a new life away from your mother's influence. But if you choose to stay, then we'll have to rethink our marriage." It was an ultimatum, yes, but it was also a chance for Jack to show who he really was, the independent man I loved, or the son who never cut the umbilical cord. Jack didn't answer that night. He asked for time to think, and I respected that. In the following days, I saw him struggle with himself. I saw the frequent calls from Mrs. Thompson, who had somehow discovered about the job offer. Probably Jack told her. I saw his worried looks at our son as he considered all the possibilities. A week later, he approached me in the home office. "I can't go with you," he said, his voice laden with emotion. "My mother, she needs me. She's alone." I felt as if an abyss had opened beneath my feet. Even after everything, he chose his mother. "I understand," I replied, surprisingly calm. "Then I guess you've made your decision. Sarah, can't we find a middle ground? Can't you refuse this job?" "Jack, this isn't just about the job. It's about respect. It's about loyalty. It's about building a life based on what we want, not on what your mother approves. She's my family. And what am I? What is Michael? We are your family too." He didn't respond, and his silence told me everything I needed to know. That night, I called the company's HR and accepted the offer. What happened in the months that followed was what I call my moral revenge. Not a plan to destroy Jack or his mother, but to rebuild my life in a way that showed them, and especially myself, who I really was. With the help of my lawyer, Jack and I entered into a friendly separation agreement. He would stay in the apartment where we lived, and I would receive financial compensation to start my new life in another city. Custody of Michael would be shared, with him spending most of his time with me, but with frequent visits from his father. Mrs. Thompson, as expected, did not take the situation well. She tried to interfere in the negotiations, suggested I was stealing her grandson, even insinuated that I wouldn't have the financial conditions to raise Michael alone. That's when I implemented the final part of my plan. I organized a dinner. I invited Jack, Mrs. Thompson, and also my parents. One last meeting before my move. Jack seemed confused by the invitation but accepted. Mrs. Thompson initially tried to refuse, but curiosity won her over. The dinner was at an elegant restaurant, the kind of place Mrs. Thompson frequented with her high society friends. I reserved a private room. When everyone arrived, I served glasses of champagne and made a toast. "To family," I said, looking directly at Mrs. Thompson, in all its forms and definitions. Then, with calm and dignity, I began to speak. I talked about my humble origins, yes, about how my father, the mechanic, had worked overtime for years to pay for my college, about how my mother, the seamstress, had taught me the value of hard work and honesty. I talked about my career, about how I had risen from junior analyst to manager in less than 5 years, about the awards I had received, the successful projects I had led, and then I talked about family, about how for me, family wasn't defined by last names or social status, but by love, respect, and loyalty. "When I heard you call me unworthy of your son, Mrs. Thompson," I said, now addressing her directly, "something broke inside me. Not just my heart, but also my illusion. The illusion that I needed your approval to be happy, to be a good wife to Jack, a good mother to Michael." I saw her face pale. I saw Jack lower his head, ashamed. "But today I'm not here for recriminations. I'm here to thank you." I saw the shock in her eyes. "Yes, thank you. Because thanks to you, I discovered my own strength. I discovered that I can build a wonderful life for myself and my son based on the values I consider important: hard work, honesty, respect." Next, I took an envelope from my purse and handed it to her. "This is an invitation to the housewarming party for my new home next week. I was able to buy it outright, with my savings from the last few years and my new salary. It's a house with a large yard, perfect for Michael to run and play. It also has a guest room for when Jack wants to visit his son." I saw the confusion in her eyes, the internal struggle between maintaining her composure and showing the anger she felt. "You are invited to visit your grandson whenever you want, Mrs. Thompson, but with one condition: respect. Respect for me, as the mother of your grandson, as an independent woman, as a person." The silence that followed was deafening. My parents, who had watched everything in respectful silence, now looked at me with evident pride. Jack had tears in his eyes, a mixture of regret and admiration. Mrs. Thompson was the first to stand up. "Thank you for the invitation, Sarah. I'll consider it." And she left without looking back. Jack remained, and after my parents discreetly withdrew to give us privacy, he held my hands across the table. "I failed you," he finally said. "Failed to see what was happening. Failed to defend you when I should have." "Yes, you failed," I agreed, without rancor. "But we still have Michael. We can still be good parents to him, even living apart. Do you think one day we could try again, the two of us?" I looked at him with affection, but also with a new certainty I had found in myself. "I don't know, Jack. What I do know is that I need this time for myself, to discover who I am outside of your relationship, outside of your mother's expectations. And maybe you need the same." That was a year ago. Life in the new city has been transformative. Michael, now almost 3, is adapted and happy. My career has taken off. I was promoted again 3 months ago. Jack comes to visit his son every 2 weeks, and on other weeks, I take Michael to spend the weekend with his father. Our relationship has improved significantly since we separated. Without the constant pressure from Mrs. Thompson, Jack seems to have found his own voice. Recently, he told me he's also doing therapy, working on his own issues related to his domineering mother. As for Mrs. Thompson, surprisingly, she came to visit Michael twice this year. In the first visits, she was formal and distant with me. In the last one, however, something seemed different. When she was leaving, she stopped at the door and said, without looking directly at me, "The house looks nice. You did a good job here." It wasn't an apology, but for someone like Mrs. Thompson, it was as close as she could get to one. I'm dating again, a history teacher I met at Michael's school. It's too early to say where this will lead, but I'm open to possibilities. Jack knows and seems genuinely happy for me, though I can sometimes see a slight regret in his eyes. The truth is that I still love Jack, in a way. He is the father of my child, was my companion for years, but I learned that love is not enough when there is no mutual respect, when there is no true loyalty. Sometimes I wonder if one day we will be a family again, if Jack will really be able to establish healthy boundaries with his mother, if we can rebuild the broken trust. I don't know the answer, but what I do know is that regardless of what happens, I'll be fine, because I discovered that I was never unworthy. In fact, I am more worthy, stronger, and more capable than I ever imagined. Update. Something unbelievable happened last night. Jack showed up at my door without warning, with an expression I had never seen before. Determination, nervousness, and something else I couldn't immediately identify. "I requested a transfer to my company's branch here in the city," he announced, without preamble. "I want to be more present in Michael's life, and I want to try again, the two of us. If you're willing." I was speechless, especially when he added, "I had a serious conversation with my mother. I told her that if she couldn't respect you, respect our choices as a family, then we would have to redefine our relationship too." I don't know what to answer yet. The history. Teacher is a wonderful man, and we're building something beautiful together. But there's history between Jack and me. There's love, despite everything. I asked him for time to think, and he respected that. I don't know what my decision will be, but I know that, whatever it is, it will be based on what's best for me and Michael. Not on fear, not on insecurity, not on the need for anyone's approval. And that, in itself, is already a victory. And you, if you were in her place, what would you do differently? Leave your comment.